It's not that bad, but it still has problems. Hey everybody, this is Roberto Blake of robertoblake.com, and today we're going to be geeking out over my new MacBook Pro in space gray with a nice cover on it. Some of you may remember I did an Apple rant about the 2016 MacBook Pro, and I have the new 2017 MacBook Pro, and this is going to be my primary mobile video editing workstation. I am still looking into a PC just to run against this, and also as a laptop for a second video editor that's going to be working with me. So there will be a PC laptop video editing series coming pretty soon to the channel, and there might be a couple of product reviews. But we're going to focus on the MacBook Pro. The MacBook Pro is a gorgeous device. There's no getting away from that. As a standalone laptop, there are cheaper, better options if all you need is a powerful laptop and workstation. However, if you are in the Apple ecosystem, then there's actually a caveat there. The caveat here is the ecosystem, and if you are in that ecosystem, then it's not about the standalone laptop as a product. It's about the laptop, it's about the AirPods, it's about the Apple Watch, it's about the iPhone, it's about the iPad, it's about Apple TV. You know, all of those things that I actually own. So Voltron is a really good analogy here. Spec for spec, dollar for dollar. Every single Apple product has a much better, cheaper competitor. Standalone, they do not cut it. But with their powers combined, the Apple products work seamlessly together, and in terms of usability, you only have to figure out so many things. They work together flawlessly for the most part, and you don't have to learn a new interface, a new UI, you don't have to retain nearly as much information, and so streamlining that process is actually really practical for the majority of people. This will not be my full review, this is just more or less my first impressions of working with it and some thoughts. I am not a Final Cut user, I am an Adobe Premiere Pro video editor through and through. But because so many of you keep asking for it, there will be Final Cut tutorials on this channel and a little bit of other video editing software as well. That being said, as an Adobe user and part of that Adobe ecosystem, I have a few complaints. The MacBook Pro, in my opinion, purposefully diminishes the performance of Premiere Pro in favor of Final Cut Pro. Adobe Premiere Pro uses both OpenCL and OpenGL, and we've seen from all the amazing reviews of people who've been doing AMD Threadripper builds that AMD video graphics cards can perform in OpenCL in Adobe Premiere when it comes to render times. It is my opinion that because Apple and Final Cut Pro are a direct competitor of Adobe, that they had no incentive to optimize Adobe Premiere to work with their hardware when they have their own competing software that they could optimize to outperform there. Because prior to Apple moving from the NVIDIA graphics card chipset, like the GTX and so on and so forth, to AMD and OpenCL, which they know Premiere Pro is not as optimized for. Well, before that, most people were not making a comparison between vastly superior render times from Final Cut Pro to Adobe Premiere. That's only a modern, recent argument since that move just a few years ago. And that was a direct backlash from the video editing community, in my opinion, moving from Final Cut X, aka Final Cut 10, or as I think of it, iMovie Pro, to Adobe Premiere. Most of us who were Final Cut 7 users really did not like those changes and the dumbing down of the interface. It was something that was done, once again, to leave pros behind for the average consumer, because Apple is a consumer electronics company now. It's not a creative company anymore. It's not for us creators anymore, as evidenced by the fact that I had to buy an accessory just to have basic things like an SD card slot so that I can, use that whenever I want to conveniently, instead of having to go USB Type-C for the Panasonic GH5 to USB Type-C to the MacBook Pro, which I suppose you could do. It's just not what I prefer to do, and I should have that option as a pro for a machine that I'm paying $3,000 for. I shouldn't have to buy accessories for simple tasks like SD card slots and the like. Also, as a public speaker, the extra dongle stuff just to have HDMI out. Since most modern convention centers still just barely use HDMI and still have VGA for their presenters, you can't expect them to upgrade that to USB Type-C anytime soon. I don't care how forward technology thinking you are, that's not practical. By the way, I'm not living in the past on the USB Type-C thing. I actually had USB Type-C in my Dell XPS 13 before the Macs even thought to put it in there. So there is that. I had that for a whole year before Apple got on board. But again, overall, my first impressions of having used it and the ecosystem, using it with my new iPhone 8, is that it's a great experience to work with day to day. The battery life is fantastic. The aesthetic is obviously gorgeous, and from a workflow standpoint, AirDrop is phenomenal if you're a social media person. For me, being able to work in Photoshop and then be able to just push a button instead of having to do this upload, download thing and have it on my phone, throw it up in Instagram for you guys, that's been amazing. I'm going to link to some accessories and some things that you should definitely get if you ever pick up this laptop, because there are quite a few of them. You're going to need some cables, you're going to need some other things, you're going to need some dongles, and I will link to the ones that I think are best in the description down below. In terms of workflow and working with the Apple ecosystem, especially if you're on iOS, I recommend it. I think that it's a decent video editing laptop. I haven't had any major issues with it. Render times are not something I focus on as much. I set those things and forget it, walk away, go do something else, and this definitely accommodates that. I will be doing a full review on this laptop a little bit later after I've used it longer. It'll be an honest review because there's almost zero chance that Apple will ever work with me on anything, and there's almost zero chance because I am hypercritical of them as someone who spends a lot of money with them. There's zero chance of me working with Apple. I will be doing some honest reviews on things like the AirPods, the iPhone, and of course, the MacBook Pro. And in a lot of these things, I'm going to be very harsh. I'm going to be very critical because as someone who's spending money, I think you have a right to do that. And again, the way I'm going to do my reviews is I use this stuff for my business. I don't use this to play around. I don't use this stuff casually. And so I want you to have an informed, dissenting opinion that is not someone who's a fanboy of Apple, but someone who's an old school fan who has learned to live with a little bit of disappointment in the fact that they've left professionals behind for the consumer market. And so I'm going to address those things from the point of view of a professional who uses this in their business day to day. So that's something you're into. You'll definitely want to stay tuned. More videos are coming. Anyway, I'd love to know, like, what tools are you using for content creation? What tools are you using day to day for your online business? Let me know in the comment section. Like this video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. Check out the other awesome stuff on the channel. As always, you guys, thanks so very much for watching, and don't forget, create something awesome today on whatever laptop you happen to have. Take care. By the way, I did put together what I consider to be the ultimate 2017 laptop buyer's guide. If you are looking for an alternative to the MacBook Pro, you should definitely check that out. I cover a lot of different laptops at different budgets for different scenarios, whether you're a student, whether you're a gamer, whether you're a graphic designer, video editor, whether you're just using this for business. I did make some recommendations. I also did talk about other Mac laptop products that you could consider beyond the MacBook Pro and what might fit your budget. So definitely check that out. It'll be linked in the description down below, also up here in the info card.